Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've been with us on this journey through Oliver's A Night on the Earth, you know we've kind of reached this intense point, this real emotional friction.
Absolutely. The narrator's been through, well, everything. It felt like we hit this peak commitment and then almost immediately a pullback.
It's been quite the ride. Remember where we just left off, track 9, I Don't Want to Die Tonight.
Right.
It was like the death and rebirth moment for him.
And that really propelled him into track 10, You're My Home. That was the big commitment track, but you could feel the cost, the effort involved.
You really could.
Yeah.
He literally says he's putting chains on my soul so it won't run away. That track was all about forcing stability, wasn't it? A really determined, heavy rock sound.
Definitely. Fighting against his own, chaos. And then right after that intensity, we got track 11.
How to Buy Love, the reggae track.
Yeah, that felt like a needed pause, a kind of philosophical step back, less about the relationship itself, more a critique of, well, thinking you can earn love through effort or transactions.
And landing on that core idea, only love buys love. Simple but profound.
But that clarity, that intellectual high, it doesn't last. Because the very next track, track 12, For Another Day, it just slams us right back into the emotional deep end. The shift is pretty jarring.
It really is. And the genre tells us a lot immediately. We go from that lighter reggae straight into a heavy rock blues ballad.
Exactly. It signals that the intellectual insight didn't magically fix the underlying personal issues. He's done with the broad critiques. He's back facing his own fragility, something those chains maybe couldn't fully hold back.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, really. Why? Why, after reaching what seemed like peak commitment in You're My Home and getting that philosophical clarity, does he suddenly pivot to a title like For Another Day?
Yeah.
It suggests delay, survival, not permanence.
It's a retreat back to the immediate present. We need to unpack what that tells us about recovery, especially from relationship trauma.
Okay, let's dive into the track itself. The description Oliver gives is key. He's finally in a good relationship, but he still questions everything because he was hurt before.
Right. So this track is squarely about how that past hurt lingers, how relational trauma persists, even when things seem objectively good.
And you see that immediately in the lyrics about sleep, the opening lines, "When I sleep, I always dream this scary place." And same old stories that I heard so many different times.
That's such a powerful opening. And we have to remember, like, way back in track 1, yes, I know, sleep was an escape. He dreamed of her laying by my side. It was a refuge.
But not anymore. Now sleep is hostile territory. A scary place. The same old stories just replay. It feels like the commitment he made, that was maybe a conscious effort, but the subconscious, still trapped in the trauma loop.
Totally. And he's actively fighting it. He says, I try my best to keep them all away. That line shows the sheer mental energy it takes just to function. Stability isn't a given. It's a constant battle.
It sounds exhausting. But then, right when it feels like the darkness is winning, the partner comes in. But it's described differently this time.
Yes, it's not this assertive rescue, the lyrics say. But then, your grace slips in my life, and all struggles that I have go a different way.
Grace. That word really stands out.
It does. It suggests something. Undeserved, maybe? Unexpected mercy? Not something he fought for or earned through those chains. It feels different from the transactional stuff he just critiqued.
That's a great point. He just said only love buys love, rejecting transactions. And here, his partner isn't demanding anything. She's offering grace. It slips in. It sounds gentle, subtle.
Exactly. It feels like a maturing of how help works in the relationship. Earlier, he needed answers, needed fixing, or he forced his own commitment. That was all high effort, very active.
Right, like the chains in track 10.
But here, her presence itself, this gentle grace, seems to change things. It doesn't require him to do anything just to receive it.
Okay, but does that invalidate the effort from track 10? If this gentle grace works, did he need the chains? Or maybe the chains were about stopping himself from running, while the grace helps him handle the incoming attacks, the nightmares.
I think that's closer to it. The chains were maybe internal self-control, trying to stop self-sabotage. The grace seems more about dealing with the external echoes of past trauma, the ghosts, the stories. It suggests self-control isn't enough.
You need something external.
Yeah, maybe an external buffer, someone who offers support without adding more pressure, more demands, which kind of redefines what stability looks like for him now.
Not fierce self-control, but quiet external support.
Perhaps. And that leads directly into this idea of the partner being, well, undemanding.
Right, that brings us to how he describes her, how he defines this relationship now. It's incredibly simple. And you don't ask for nothing much.
After everything we've heard on this album, the demands, the needing to be saved, the searching for answers, that line just lands with such relief. Seriously. Think about the pressure he put on partners earlier. Make me live again. Read my mind. It was immense.
And here, this partner seems to get that he's, well, emotionally depleted. Maybe the effort of track 10, those chains, took everything he had. The fact she don't ask for nothing much might be the only reason this can work.
So the relationship is sustainable because it's emotionally economical.
It seems that way. The cost is low, which frees up his energy to fight those internal battles, the nightmares and ghosts. It's not fueled by grand passion, but by, manageability.
Which leads straight to the chorus, the core idea. You just want to keep me for another day.
And that is such a powerful statement about his current state. He's so fragile, so aware of the potential for relapse, that thinking about forever, about a big future, it's just too much.
He can only handle the next 24 hours.
Basically, yeah. The immediate present is the only time frame he can safely operate in.
But is that progress, or is it the trauma winning? He did aim for permanence in track 10. Now he's scaling back. Isn't that a kind of defeat? I see why you'd say that, but I actually read it differently. I think it might be realism, which is often harder than grand gestures. Track 10 felt almost like a desperate attempt to force stability through willpower.
And it sounded exhausting.
Exactly. Track 12 feels like an acknowledgement that force didn't fully work or wasn't sustainable. He knows his trauma comes in waves, so maybe grand promises feel inherently breakable now.
So another day isn't failure. It's a more honest strategy.
A tactical victory, maybe?
Yeah.
A low-stakes goal he can actually achieve. The relationship isn't about building that huge home anymore. It's about getting the support needed to just survive today. If he makes it through today, that's the win.
And the partner provides the space for that, without demanding tomorrow he doesn't feel capable of guaranteeing.
Right. It's a shift from seeking finality to accepting continuity. Maybe another day, repeated, is the only kind of forever he can actually believe in right now.
But even with this grace, this low-stakes agreement, the fight isn't over. The trauma is still very much present. Stanza 2 makes that brutally clear.
Yeah, he talks about relapse explicitly. When I break, and all problems stand me down and make me bleed.
Breaking and bleeding. That's incredibly raw imagery. It shows his defenses are still fragile. Whatever those chains were meant to do, they can still fail. He can still be overwhelmed.
And when he's vulnerable like that, the past rushes back in. It's personified. And some ghosts from past come back to haunt me still. It's like they're never giving up. They're pushing me to fall and burn away.
We've heard about these ghosts before, haven't we? Back in 3 Million Miles, fighting ghosts, and the burning in my hell from laughing in the rain.
Exactly. It's a recurring theme. These aren't just memories. They feel like active forces pushing him towards despair, towards self-destruction. It really underscores that trauma isn't static. It's an ongoing presence.
Which makes the day-by-day survival strategy seem even more necessary.
It does. Again, when he's at that breaking point, the partner intervenes. But again, gently. The imagery is beautiful. And then your smile comes from the blue, like a star at night to point me to my way.
That's a lovely line. And it contrasts so sharply with earlier tracks, like in track 4 where he was waiting for a dawn to come that never did. That was abstract hope.
This is specific. She is a star at night, a navigational point. She guides him to his way. It's personal and direct, but still passive.
Passive again. Your smile comes from the blue. She doesn't fight the ghosts for him.
Right. Her steady presence, her light, is enough to cut through the darkness the ghosts create. She's a reliable reference point, maybe giving him the stability he needs to face his own internal battle without getting completely lost.
It's her quiet constancy that's the key, not demanding he be fixed, just being a reliable light source. It's the total opposite of the demanding, maybe toxic dynamics from earlier in the album.
Exactly. She provides the buffer he needs for that daily struggle.
So this idea of daily survival, it's the core emotional truth here. And the song structure really emphasizes it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That repetition in the refrain.
Oh, absolutely. The phrase, you just want to keep me for another day, and specifically for another day, gets repeated, what, 6 times? It becomes the track's heartbeat.
And it doesn't feel like a triumphant chorus. It feels more like an anxious mantra or a prayer.
I think so, too. You can almost hear the fragility in that repetition. It underscores his inability or maybe unwillingness to trust anything beyond the immediate present. Each repetition feels like him taking a breath, reminding himself of the deal. Just today.
It's such a contrast to other repeated phrases on the album, like, but now I know and now I know. That felt like pounding certainty.
Right, or the cycles of despair in life and lies. Those repetitions built intensity in different ways. Here, it feels like hesitation, like fragility, like a necessary concession.
Every another day is him stepping back from the forever he tried to force in track 10. He's recalibrating his expectations down to what feels possible.
And the music itself, the rock blues ballad form, supports that. Blues often carries that weight, that lament. The repetition here doesn't build to a big release. It kind of maintains this steady, fragile, slightly mournful state. Each day feels like an effort.
So the core theme becomes incredibly clear. Recovery isn't one big win. It's not the grand declaration of track 10. It's this ongoing day-by-day thing.
Yeah, a persistent struggle against relapse, against the scars. And the partner isn't the cure. She's the support system that makes the daily fight manageable, maybe even winnable.
It feels really honest. Maybe the most realistic depiction of healing on the whole album, accepting that you live with the past, not erase it one day at a time.
Fragile stability, but maybe real stability for the first time.
Okay, so For Another Day is the last song with lyrics on A Night on the Earth. Before we fully wrap up the album, it's worth stepping back and thinking about what Oliver himself said about the project's meaning.
Right, because he intended it to be more than just his personal story. He described the songs as representing common feelings shared across the globe. Things like love, betrayal, anger, absolution.
Universal emotional archetypes. And the title A Night on the Earth is important too. He said these feelings were often strongest during lonely nights.
That night setting captures the introspection, the vulnerability, where these big emotions feel heightened. It frames the whole journey.
So the story we followed, from the initial hurt to the desperate measures and now this fragile stability, Oliver saw that as something universal.
Exactly. Not just about Oliver going through these feelings, it's universal for all people on this blue marble we call home. The album traces a path lots of people might recognize in their own lives, even if the details differ.
And maybe that universality is why the album doesn't end with more words, more specific narration. It ends with 4 instrumental tracks.
Right. Tracks 13 through 16. They seem designed to provide a kind of emotional closure through sound alone, moving beyond the narrator's specific voice.
First up are 2 blues tracks. Track 13, A Different Kind of Blues, and track 14, Blues in F major.
The first title, A Different Kind of Blues, is interesting. It suggests the heavy mood, the blues feeling, hasn't vanished, but maybe it's changed. Less raw pain, perhaps more contemplative. The blues of acceptance, not just reaction.
And then Blues in F major. F major is usually a pretty stable, bright key, so presenting it as blues might mean that even within a more stable framework, that underlying weight, the blues reality, is still there. Pain managed, not erased.
That makes sense. And then the album shifts towards something more expansive with track 15, Freedom, which is noted as orchestral.
Orchestral suggests scale,
Yeah.
a bigger, maybe more transcendent feeling of release than the personal story could convey in words. It lifts it beyond just him.
Yeah, a sense of universal liberation, perhaps. And then the final track, track 16, is simply titled Love, also instrumental.
Coming after Freedom, maybe this represents the quiet foundation, not the dramatic, demanding love from earlier, but perhaps that gentle, undemanding grace we heard about in For Another Day.
That feels right. So those 4 tracks take us on a final sonic journey, acknowledging the persistent blues, finding a broader sense of freedom, and finally resting in a quieter, perhaps more mature understanding of love. It's an open ending, leaving the emotion to resonate universally. Hashtag tag 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 outro.
And with that, we've reached the end of A Night on the Earth. It's been an incredible journey through some really intense emotional territory.
It really has. And we're left with that central tension from the last lyrical track, For Another Day.
Exactly. That conflict between track 10's desperate, soul-chaining bid for permanence, for a home.
And track 12's retreat to just needing to survive another day.
So the question we leave you with is, what does that retreat signify? Is it a failure? Is the trauma ultimately too strong for him to sustain that big commitment?
Well, is it the opposite? Is another day actually the truest form of stability he can achieve after everything? A realism built not on force, but on quiet support, managing trauma day by day. Maybe that's what real hard-won stability looks like.
It's a powerful thought to sit with. But Oliver's story doesn't quite end there with the album. There's a continuation, a kind of cliffhanger we need to address next time.
There is. The very next release was a single, Till the End of Time. It's not technically part of A Night on the Earth, but it clearly picks up right where the narrative left off.
And lyrically, it's a massive shift. Suddenly, we're not talking about another day. We're back to grand declarations.
Big time. The lyrics talk about commitment across all the seasons, summer, autumn, winter, spring, implying endurance through cycles. And it builds to the ultimate proposal. Will you marry me?
Which seems almost impossible after track 12. How does the guy who could barely handle 24 hours suddenly find the strength, the belief, the freedom to propose marriage, to talk about till the end of time?
That's the question, isn't it? What happened between the fragile hope of for another day and the confident proposal of till the end of time? What emotional bridge did he cross?
We are definitely going to dive deep into that next time, exploring that single and what it tells us about the final stage of his journey, or at least the next stage.
So join us then as we explore till the end of time.
Until then, maybe ponder what another day really means when you're rebuilding.